J.K. Rowling responds to trans tweets criticism. J.K. Rowling has said she spoke out about transgender issues in part due to her personal experience of domestic abuse and sexual assault. The Harry Potter author addressed criticisms of her response to an article that described people who menstruate in a lengthy blog. She wrote her interest in trans issues stemmed from being a survivor of abuse and having concerns about single-sex spaces. Actor Daniel Radcliffe was among those critical of Miss Rowling's comments. In the blog post published on Wednesday, Rowling, 54, detailed what she said were the 5 reasons why she felt the need to talk about the issue. These include her interest in both education and safeguarding and freedom of speech. Explaining her final reason, she wrote, "I've been in the public eyes now for over 20 years and have never talked publicly about being a domestic abuse and sexual assault survivor. School renames Rowling House over trans tweets. This isn't because I'm ashamed those things happen to me, but because they are traumatic to revisit and remember. I also feel protective of my daughter from my first marriage. I didn't want to claim sole ownership of a story that belongs to her too. However, a short while ago, I asked her how she felt it. I were publicly honest about that part of my life, and she encouraged me to go ahead. I'm mentioning these things now not in an attempt to garner sympathy, but out of the solidarity with the huge numbers of women who have histories like mine, who've been stirred as bigots for having concerns about single-sex spaces. Radcliffe, the star of the Harry Potter film series, and added Remy, who leads the cast of the Fantastic Beasts movie, have both criticized Rowling for her comments about transgender issues. Emma Watson, who played Hermione Granger in the Potter franchise, said trans people are who they say they are and deserve to live their lives without being constantly questioned and told they aren't who they say they are. The row began last weekend after Rowling responded to a headline on an online article discussing people who menstruate by writing in a tweet. I am sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Rumpen, whimpered, rumored. Critics accused her of being transphobic, but Rowling said she stood by her comments, saying it isn't hate to speak the truth. If sex isn't will, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't will, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It is hate to speak the truth. My life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it's hateful to say so, she said. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. In December last year, the author voiced her support for a researcher who was sacked after tweeting that transgender people cannot change their biological sex. Misogyny. In the blog post on Wednesday, Rowling said she was motivated to address transgender issues through her Twitter account because of what she sees as an increasingly misogynistic society. We are living through the most misogynistic period I have experienced, she continued. Back in the 80s, I imagined that my future daughters, should I have any, would have it far better than I ever did. But between the backlash against feminism and porn-saturated online culture, I believe things have got significantly worse for girls. Never have I seen women denigrated and dehumanized to the extent they are now. What is the reactions of J.K. Rowling's statement?